If you ask around for Gator fans right now who they're most excited to see next year, it's probably going to be the likes of Montrell, Jonshon, and Trevor Etienne. Make a two-headed monster in the running back room that we're all excited about. Now, as we Gator fans, we know what to expect. We know what these two can do. However, the media, once again, seems to be kind of taking a jab at Florida Gators, leaving these two off all kinds of lists and top 10 duos and top running backs for the SEC. And again, a lot of that has to do with who was at the quarterback position last year. So we're going to talk about what they could be doing this year and what to expect. Let's get into it. So last year, Montrell came over from Louisiana with Billy Napier, and Billy Napier picked up Trevor Etienne in the recruiting cycle. Again, Trevor being a freshman. These two finished the year with boasting 1,500 yards on the ground on 274 attempts, which results in about 5.7 yards per attempt. Now, what does that leave him? Trevor Etienne placed 5th in the SEC as a freshman in yards per attempt out of the top 30 players. It also had the longest rushing play in SEC last year at 85 yards. Montrell Johnson tied for 4th in the SEC in rushing touchdowns out of the top 30s and 11th in the SEC for total rushing yards. Now, you're probably asking, well, how is this going to make them into a top tandem this year? Quarterback position. These two combined for over 1,500 yards. There was about 713 yards that went elsewhere to Anthony Richardson. 65 attempts, Anthony Richardson rushed for 713 yards, but we all know where Anthony is headed, and that is to the NFL. So that leaves a big gaping gap on where those carries and yards are going to go to. Insert Graham Mertz, aka Heismertz. It looks like he'll be stepping in as the starting quarterback this year between him and Jack Miller, but it seems like he has the edge right now. Let's take a look back at what he did at Wisconsin. Graham Mertz boasts a whopping 283 yards rushing in his career at Wisconsin, averaging only 3.1 yards a carry on 48 attempts. Now, that shouldn't concern you because Graham is not a dual-threat quarterback. He is more of a pro-style quarterback, and Wisconsin's running back crew was an absolute tear last year, and they found themselves in the top 5, even though Wisconsin did not have a great season. So now Graham Mertz can scramble and do what he needs to do, but I don't see too many designed run plays involving Graham Mertz, meaning the load will fall heavily on Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. Now, we all know that another big compliment to that is going to be the offensive line. Now, the Florida Gators did have one of the top offensive linemen in O'Cyrus Torrence, who is going to the NFL draft. He is leaving the Gators, but Billy did not stop there. Billy Ballsack hit the transfer portal, bringing in 3 studs and 5-star Keontae Goodwin, Mike Mazuka from Baylor, and Damian George from Alabama. Now, with these additions to the offensive line on top of the coaching staff that we have for the offensive line and what our O-line did last year, I'm extremely excited at what they're going to be able to do this year. With a lot of top running backs still available in this recruiting cycle for 2024, I gotta say this upcoming season is going to be extremely important to see how these things translate onto the field. I think he already speaks volumes of how they put a freshman in right away. We've got Trey Webb coming in as well. It's going to add to this 2-headed monster. Going to be a 3-headed monster, you can say. Another big thing to note here is last year, the SEC top 5 leading running backs averaged 220 carries for the season between each individual, only 54 less than Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne combined. So again, we had 65 rushing attempts from Anthony Richardson. We could probably see about 50% of those, maybe even 60% of those, getting divvied up between Montrell and Trevor Etienne, letting those guys absolutely feast. I know the future of Florida football right now is a little unsettling, but this excites me. I'm fired up. I know these two are hungry to put some respect on their name, to get the respect they deserve, and we should be fired up next year for Florida football. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Check the link in the description for the full article on these two, written by our man David Soderquist. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.